Blue Ridge Bank started in Page County, Virginia in 1893 and has been a staple in the Shenandoah Valley region ever since.
The community that Blue Ridge Bank serves is kind of a diverse one. The bank's headquartered in Luray, which is a rural community. We also have a branch in southern Page County, Shenandoah, Virginia. And then outside Harrisonburg here, we have a branch in a place called McGaheysville, just at the foot of the Madison Mountain. And then, of course, we're here in Harrisonburg. We're in Charlottesville. And so it's an interesting community because, again, you have college towns in Charlottesville and Harrisonburg, whereas you have more rural, older, mature communities in Page County. It's a little bit of a diverse mix of customer types, of business types. And so, yeah, we kind of see a little bit of everything in our business footprint. And then so sort of how that is impacted by technology, I think, again, is in your more old, mature markets, that's where you have a lot of your customers that are still, they probably have internet, they probably have a computer, but they don't like using it as much. Those are the people that still like to come in the branch. They like to do things the old way. Whereas in, our branch here in Harrisonburg, we have very little foot traffic because, again, everybody uses their phone, they use the internet banking, they use whatever other technological opportunities there are. And so I think that's probably the big divergence you see with a bank like us that has operations in both sort of urban markets and as well as rural ones. That's where you see a lot of the technological differences. And so I think that's one of the things that's challenging for banks is that now we've come up with all this technology to kind of keep them from coming in the bank. Now we have to find a way to get them back in here to do more business with us. So I think that's probably the single biggest challenge, whether you're a community bank or a big bank. But I think the flip side of that is the benefit of technology to community banks has been that in earlier times, big banks had a lot better technology, a lot better platform. In many cases, they maybe even had more opportunities, more products, more services. Whereas now that the democratization of technology is so cheap, almost every bank has internet banking. Almost every bank has mobile deposit on their phones. And so there's a lot less differentiation now between us and the big banks. And so for a lot of people that want to deal with a small bank, there's a lot better opportunity to do that than it's ever been. I think the way we allocate resources on technology is sort of twofold. There are some things that you just sort of have to have. Regulatory requirements will mandate that you have to have this fireproof, not fireproof, but firewall or some that kind of stuff. Beyond that, I think a lot of it is just sort of as resources come along. If somebody comes out with a great product and we feel like it's something we can utilize and that our customers would like, then that's what we do. Other technologies, we say, man, that $40,000 for that doesn't really seem like a good return on investment. So I think that's where the dichotomy is there's some things that you have to do no matter what the cost is. Then there's the other things that you really just sort of make a business decision about. I would say the biggest thing, sort of what I was talking about earlier, that's been affected by technology has been the deposit side of things. On the loan side, that's a project that, yes, now you can do e-signatures and you can have people email you everything. And so, that has been made a little bit easier. But again, the biggest thing is in deposits, where it used to be that every single week, every single month, whatever your pay schedule was, you had to physically walk in the bank or go through the drive-through and get your money. And now you pretty much never have to do that. And again, I think from our business model perspective, that's just been a radical change over the years. And then sort of further related to that is now with the fact that you can, not just have your check direct deposited, but now that you can take a picture of, when your grandmother sends you a $50 check for your birthday and you don't even have to come in the bank for that. Again, it's really changed the dynamic where people almost never have to come to the bank now. And so again, it just changed our business model of how do we interact with our customers when they're not really coming in the branch. I think the longevity of these legacy systems will somewhat depend upon just kind of how long it takes for people to move over from things. A great example is in Luray, we still, of course, have a lot of people that come in the branch because they can. Well, so this coming year, there's a little creek sort of next to where the bank is, and so that bridge is being replaced. And so obviously when they have to tear that bridge out, traffic's going to be kind of a pain in the butt. And so it's going to be a lot more difficult for people to come downtown, to come to the bank when that happens. And so my guess is that all these people that come in the bank because they don't have any, they're retired, they don't have anything else better to do, When that bridge goes out, that's when they're going to finally force themselves to use mobile deposit, to use internet banking, to use some of these other products. And once they get used to doing that, then they won't come back once the bridge is built. So those are some of the types of things that I think may impact people, is that, again, the phone service. As more and more people get rid of their phone service, in theory, at some point, you're going to see a massive decline in the number of people using that. But so, yeah, I think in many cases it's going to be an external factor that sort of forces people into the new technology. And then once they're in it, they're going to use it. I think our strategic plan has had to change as a result of technology, really from a capital budgeting perspective. Again, I think there's just one more layer of business decision making that has to happen when you say, okay, again, here's the things that are required, here's the things that we know we have to pay for irregardless of what's going on. And then there's all this decision of like, okay, well, hey, there's this new technology, there's a new product, whatever it is. Do we think we can get X dollars worth of value out of that? And so on the flip side, nothing else has really been eliminated, right? I mean, we still kind of have to have a branch network. We still have to have tellers. We still have to have, so there's, for example, we still have a phone link system. So again, if you want to check your balance, you can call on the phone, put in your account number, and it'll tell you what your balance is, see if your Social Security check's cleared, something like that. Again, that's typically the generation of people that use that. But you would be amazed how many people still use that. And so, on one hand, you've still got the expense of all the legacy type technologies that you have to do, and then you have the new expense of the new technologies that you have to have. And it's just, where do you get to the point where you start saying, okay, I'm not gonna pay for this old service anymore, and I'm only gonna pay for this new service. And again, I think that's made that much more challenging, because generally the people with all the money are the ones who are using the old technology, and so you certainly don't want to run those people out of the bank. So it's a big strategic decision as to when you do things like that. For example, and this has been a long time ago now, but our bank was one of the last banks to actually charge for paper statements, whereas one of the other local community banks was really one of the first community banks, at least in the region, to charge for that. And so, for them, it was really going out on a limb, potentially making a lot of customers mad. But with us, maybe us waiting that long, did we retain a couple extra customers and maybe we wouldn't have? Or were we just sort of not getting paid for stuff that every other bank was getting paid for? And I don't know what the answer to that is. But again, there's something that seems like a really easy sort of low-level decision to be made, but it actually is a pretty important and strategic one. And so it's just a lot more of those type of decisions you have to make on a day-to-day basis now. For the most part, our customers have really liked the technological advancements. And again, part of the reason is because we haven't, in many cases, forced you into it. So again, like when we came out with internet banking, there's a cost to that, but we didn't say, okay, now everybody has to go to online banking, and you don't have the phone network, or you don't have your paper statement anymore, or you don't have whatever. And so I think that's probably one thing we've done a really good job of is making the time period where people have to adopt the new technology a pretty long one. And so you don't have but so many people that kind of feel like they got pushed into doing something that they didn't want to do.